Let's talk about value in art. Value is the difference between very, very light to very, very, very dark. And to get that very, very dark, I have to go over and over and over with my pencil as dark as I can go. And the steps in between make up what's called the value scale. So if this is my white, the white of my paper, and this is my darkest dark I can make with my pencil, in the middle I will have a gray value. All right, and that's going to be sort of a middle gray. So it's just like coloring your paper, not too dark, but not too light either. Sort of looking just for a gray kind of middle between the three. Then you should have another value that you should be able to get, and that's called a light gray. All right, and with that light gray, you want to be able to see it, but you do not want it as dark as your middle gray. You want a light gray. So you can see I have my white, my light gray, my gray, and I want to be able to produce a dark gray. All right, the dark gray should be in between these two, darker than the gray, but not as pitch black as my blackest black. And if you can create these 5 values for now, you are doing great. All right, this is just the beginning. When you get really, really good at it, you can start to do 7, you can start to do 9, you can add more and more steps in there. And you can see as I'm comparing, I'm a little bit darker. That's really good, but I want to go just a tiny bit darker still. All right, so I don't want it quite as dark as my black, but definitely darker than my gray middle. So this is called a 5-step value scale. All right, you can also do your scale this way, leaving it white and then going from very, 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 very light gray and then letting your pencil go and getting a little bit darker. This is called a gradual scale, and letting my pencil go back over top and get a little bit darker still, pushing down a little bit harder and darker still, and going back over top and darker still. And I continue on and on until I get it as pitch black over here as I can. Now, if it starts to look like it has too many lines in there, I just can go back in and blend in a little bit to soften up the line again, so that I have my white to my dark, and my darkest dark right back here I think needs a little bit of work. So let me get my dark. I have to go over it several times. You can see I'm kind of using the side edge of my pencil. All right, I can hold my pencil in this direction to get to the point when I'm drawing lines, but a lot of times when I'm coloring with my pencil, I'll turn and use the flat side of my pencil lead. All right, so this is called a step value scale, and this is called a gradual value scale. And if you do nothing more but practice those values, you're doing a great thing. All right, because the more we can do this, then the more we're able to start to create a 3D look in our drawing. And that 3D look in our drawing is called chiaroscuro. Chiaroscuro is the process of using value, lights and darks, to round out and bring out an image in your art. And we looked at that in photography already, but now let's look at it in drawing. All right, so let me grab a new sheet of paper, and I'm just going to do a very simple image. I'm just going to do a circle. And so right now I have a flat, 2-dimensional circle on my paper. But if I want to change it into a sphere, into a ball shape, a rounded ball shape, I have to use value, lights and darks. And that process of bringing it out of the paper, that's my chiaroscuro. All right, so as I do this, the first thing I need to decide is where my light source is coming from. All right, so I'm going to have the light coming from this direction. So as it shines on the ball, my lightest source will be up here. That means the darkest part of my ball is going to be down here. And I'm just going to go ahead and put in my dark so I know where that's going to be. All right. After I do that, then if I have light coming in, just as you can see with my hands, you're going to have a shadow. All right. So if the light's coming in on the ball in this direction, you're going to have a shadow going out in that same direction. So your shadow is going to go the direction of your light source. So my shadow also takes on the shape of the object that I'm doing. So this is a rounded shape. My shadow will be rounded, but my shadow is coming out around that directional line, so I know which way to put my shadow. All right, so we'll get back to the shadow in just a minute, but let's look now at this circle, because it doesn't yet look like a ball, and let's talk about how, or show how, we can get that to be more of a rounded shape. right? To create that rounded shape, again, I'm going to leave my white of the paper for where the light's coming in, and then I'm going to put a very light gray right beside it. And I'm using a curvature line because this is a curved ball instead of going straight. And then I'm going to let that curvature line get a little bit darker, sort of my mid-grays there in the middle. I'm using lots of little circles as I'm filling in because, again, this is a rounded ball shape. And then I'm going to let my circles get a little bit darker as they pull their way down. Right? Once I got the basic coloring in, it's starting to look a little bit better already. I'm going to go back in and blend my colors even more. All right, so just a very slow process of going back and forth. I'm going a little bit slower now. My darkest dark is still down at the bottom. And then I'm going to very lightly lighten it back up to my lightest lights. This is giving me that rounded look. I'm going in a rounded direction, curved lines, filling in with roundedness to get that value going on. Right, so all of a sudden, instead of being a flat two-dimensional circle, we're starting to see that roundedness of the sphere. All right, my shadow is kind of the same way, but here's a trick in adding in that shadow. Instead of getting right up against the sphere, I'm going to leave a little teeny white edge. And that's okay if it ends up being too big at first. I can fix that in just a moment. So the shadow's a little bit different. Up underneath, this is where the darkest dark is going to be, because this is the shadow, the ball is sitting on the shadow. All right. But because it's sitting there, and I don't know why, but there's always a very little bit of a light edge right up against the object. So I'm just going to lightly go back up against the object, but I'm going to leave just a skinny little white edge. Once I get the darkest dark in there, then I'm going to then start to use my gradual scale and let it get a little bit lighter and a little bit lighter all the way here to the outside edge. So I'm pulling back my value, right? And again, if I feel like I need to make it a little bit bigger, the shadow, I can definitely do that. Maybe my light source is even stronger. And let it come on out, getting lighter and lighter. All right. Now, if I want to bring this out a little bit more, maybe I want to give myself a background or have this ball sitting on a table. I can do that. All right. And so I might want the sky area here. Again, I'm going to bring around that little white edge. I might want some darkness in my background. That'll make my light source seem even stronger. But as my light source wraps around my ball, I'm going to let it get lighter over here on this side as it bounces over top. And again, you're going to start to see my roundedness take shape. All right. So have fun playing with value today. All right. And try different types of objects and see if you can bring out the value and get that rounded chiaroscuro type of look. All right. Have a great day.